Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, bringing you all another Market Watch episode. Today we're talking about some meta-relevant cards that have had a pretty significant impact on the competitive scene recently. We just had a big LCS event over the weekend, and we've seen multiple buyouts and price spikes over the last week or so as everyone is adapting to how the format has evolved. So guys, before we do get started, there are two things I want to mention briefly. Firstly, over on the MST merch website, our Black Friday sale has just gone live. We have basically everything on the site now discounted, so if you guys have had your eye on some fresh oversleeves or a set of dividers, anything like that, now is the perfect time to go and grab them. The sale is only going to be going on for another week, so make sure that you don't miss out. One other thing I do want to mention, for those of you that are also located in Vancouver, British Columbia, I don't know about you guys, but I've really missed attending locals in person. Yu-Gi-Oh just isn't like the same without it. However, there is a new locals that has just opened up at Vancouver Street Battle. They are located over in Richmond on number 3 Road. They are going to be hosting weekly tournaments every Sunday at 11 a.m. I was just there this past weekend. It was a really great turnout for their first time hosting. It was really well run. There's a great judge, Marco, a friend of mine. I know Tom and myself are both planning to go on as many Sundays as we can from here on out. So if you guys are free, make sure that you come by and check it out. We shared a link to the tourney over on our Facebook page, and I'll leave a link in the description below as well. Hopefully we'll see you guys there. And with that being said, let's jump into the Market Watch. Alright guys, the first card we're taking a look at today is Small World. I know we did just talk about this card last week, but this card had a really big showing this past weekend at the LCS event. As we mentioned before, the card did see play in Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc, but it was also used by other strategies, including an Adamancipator deck that managed to make top cut, as well as Pax Sword Soul deck. The card is really interesting in theory. It's kind of difficult in my opinion because the card is still a neg1 since you use the Small World itself and banish another monster from your hand to get that key card out of your deck, in addition to banishing that monster out of your deck, right? However, the idea here is that during your turn, you can turn a hand trap that would otherwise not be as great into an important starter or combo piece, allowing you to actually go ahead and make a board and get your own strategy going, which is much more beneficial than passing and just sitting on an additional hand trap. A quick shout out here to Darren for mentioning this card to me last week, actually before it even spiked. Anyways, with the card seeing a significant increase in usage, we have also seen the card jump up in price yet again, as it is now between $40 to $45 on TCG Player at the moment. We just saw this card at $30 last week, and that's already up from the $20 it was at before, and this card did get as high as $50 within the last day or two, so there's definitely a lot of people that are interested in picking it up. I'm not too sure exactly how much play this card is going to see moving forward, since the theory behind it is really cool and it can help to add a lot of consistency to virtually every single strategy, but it is still a neg 1, and I think it's really vulnerable to something like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Definitely a card that you guys should be keeping an eye on over the next couple of events. Now, speaking of Small World, a card that's related that I want to briefly mention here is Dynatherium. So this is a level 4 beast monster that allows you to special summon it for free out of your hand, but then your opponent gets to summon a level 4 or lower monster from either graveyard to their side of the field as well. Really simple effect. This card was used a few years ago in Infernity decks, since it's a free level 4 body that you can special summon onto the board and use to make Lavalval Chain. Now, however, this card was used as a one-of at the LCS in the first place Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc deck as a bridge piece that you banish out of your deck to allow Small World to access a variety of targets. For instance, you can banish an unneeded Nibiru from your hand and a Dynatherium from your deck, since they both have 600 defense, and then you could search for basically any Lyrilusc card, since Dynatherium is also a wind monster. So yeah, I'm sure that there are other bridge targets that exist in the game, but Dynatherium gets used here because if you happen to draw it, it could in theory function as an additional extender that you can special summon from your hand quite easily as well. I believe that yesterday morning, you still would have been able to get this card for $4 to $5, but now the cheapest version of the card on TCG Player is a whopping $17 with extremely limited quantities available. Definitely feels like too much to pay for a card like this, which historically hasn't really been all that expensive even when Infernities were a relevant deck. The card has only one printing from back in Premium Gold, but fortunately the card is just a one-of, so hopefully you can luck out and find one in your bulk or grab it off a friend if you really need it. If you're not using it though, now is a great time to try to offload this card before the price has a chance to tank back down. Next up, let's talk about a card that's sitting right at the top of Maximum Gold Eldorado. It is Access Code Talker. So of all the cards to come out in Eldorado, I think Access Code Talker is the one that is the most highly sought after, especially because it was excluded from the 2021 Megatins, so this is its only reprint. It remains one of the strongest extra deck monsters in the game, able to win games entirely on its own by blowing things up and not giving your opponent the opportunity to respond, as well as getting really big by itself. However, it just so happens that Access Code isn't really a card that's seeing much play in the current format. It isn't used by Sword Soul, Floowandereeze, Virtual World, or Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk, so that's 4 really big decks that don't need to play it. It is, however, used by decks like Phantom Knights and Pure Tri-Brigade, as well as various other rogue strategies. Now, in terms of price, this card was around $45 last Thursday and Friday, looking like it was going to drop down towards $40. However, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about, there are some problems with distribution in some areas, so there's definitely not as many copies of Access Code around on the market yet as there normally would be. Without the sealed products to open locally, people are buying up the card online, and it's naturally pushing the card's price up. There is also the fact that, to nobody's surprise, Access Code Talker is apparently short printed. I think that on average people are pulling about 2 copies per case, which honestly isn't that great of a pull rate at all. And finally, even though Access Code Talker isn't that great right now, it's still a card that is going to see play in future formats, so now just might be the best time to get it. If we went another year without seeing an Access Code Talker reprint, and the only 2 versions available were still just the Secret Rare and this short printed Gold Rare, I could easily see the card going back up to $80 to $100 for either copy. Now, all of these things being said, Gold Rare Access Code Talker is now back up to between $60 and $65 a piece after a ton of people picked up this card over the past weekend. I'm not going to try to guess where this card's price is going to go, since that's definitely going to depend a lot on when those shipments of Eldorado are actually going to be delivered and released to the market and then torn open and the cards actually go up for sale. But I would say that if you don't own an Access Code Talker yet and are looking to use one sometime soon, now just might be the time to go ahead and pick one up. Alright, so moving on, we're taking a look at Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier. So this one isn't necessarily meta relevant, right? I don't think heroes have seen too much competitive success recently, even though they're really strong, but it is a significant price jump that we've seen within the last week or two. So from the Brothers of Legend reveals, we now know that Magician Souls and then Evil Heroes, A Dusted Gold and Malicious Bane are all going to be reprinted as secret rares, which makes the hero deck much easier to put together. And of course, with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer in Burst of Destiny, that's another big boost to the hero strategy as well. However, Liquid Soldier is a key card for the deck that still has not yet been reprinted, even though it came out in the same set as Magician Souls, and that kind of leaves us all wondering just when the card will finally see that reprint. It is an important card for heroes, being the best water hero that you can use to make absolute zero with. Obviously, no offense to Bubble Man or Ocean. So whereas before this card has generally sat at around $35 to $40, we are now seeing this card's price double that at $80 a piece on TCG Player at the moment. And what's kind of crazy to me is that we're actually seeing the cards sell at that price. I personally think that's a pretty insane price to pay for a one-of, but of course it's a hero with just one printing, and heroes are still an extremely popular strategy. Now, if I had one and wasn't intending to use it, I would definitely be looking to offload the card while it is at this inflated price. With Magician Souls reprinted, we should theoretically see Liquid Soldier and Sunrise reprinted in an upcoming reprint set as well, maybe in something like Ghost from the Past 2, which will certainly make this card much more affordable and accessible. Next up, let's take a look at Dark Ruler No More. So Dark Ruler No More is a pretty popular side deck card in the current format, basically neutering your opponent's entire board all at once, and most of the time not giving your opponent the ability to respond. There are plenty of cards that you want to be able to turn off with this card, things like Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds, Baron de Fleur, Chixiao, and Mist Valley Apex Avion, among other things, and Dark Ruler No More kind of shuts all of these things off in one card. One thing I also like about Dark Ruler is that you can use this card in the Sword Soul side deck, and then you go into Boxia to spin multiple problems back into the deck or the extra deck, so you can get rid of problems on your opponent's side of the field, even if you can't necessarily put up enough monsters or enough big monsters to run them all over. Now, the card can be answered still because Imperial Order, Solemn Judgment, and Crossout Designator are all still cards this format, but a lot of the time Dark Ruler can shut off your opponent's field completely and allow you to play without fearing any sort of interruption. Dark Ruler has two printings, the first one being the secret rare from the 2019 Megatins, which is now sitting at between $18 to $20 each, and then the reprints from the Charmer Structure deck, which are about $7 to $8. Personally, I was really hoping that Dark Ruler No More would be reprinted in Brothers of Legend, but they decided to reprint Nibiru instead of all things, so for now we have to hope that we'll get another Dark Ruler reprint in either Ghosts from the Past 2 or an upcoming OTS tournament pack, both of which are definitely possible. If you guys don't own this card already, I think it's an amazing side deck option that you should definitely consider picking up a set of for yourself to use. Okay, so this one's going to definitely look really random. We have number C104 Umbral Horror Masquerade. So this is a chaos number monster, which of course is really hard to bring out. If you manage to summon it with a number 104 as a material, it has an effect that allows you to negate the effect of a monster on your opponent's field. Then you get to rip a card from their hand and cut their life points in half, which is obviously insane, right? But it's probably not something that you're going to be able to pull off too often. The reason that this card has caught some people's attention, however, is that in the upcoming Water Duelist pack, we're getting a couple of Xyz monsters called the Nafil Asylum line. Basically, the base form, Hail Knight, lets you attach a number 104 to it as a material. Then you can turn that directly into the Chaos form called Chaos Knight, who can then turn into C104, and now you have a C104 with 104 as material. It's really niche. I don't know exactly what decks are even going to be able to pull it off. The deck that it's meant for is the Shark Xyz deck, since they have sharks that can function as level 5s as well, but I don't know just how great or relevant that deck is going to be, and even if they're good, I don't think that this package is something they're going to be able to pull off all that often. Anyways, number C104 was only available in Judgment of the Light, which did come out quite a few years ago. There is the super rare printing, which is only a couple of dollars still, but then there's also the ultimate rare, which has spiked up to $30 a piece, which is pretty crazy. Of course, the card will always have some sort of demand, especially the max rarity ultimate rares, since the numbers are still really collectible. Despite that though, if you do own this card, I would definitely look at offloading it now while there's some sort of initial hype being built up around it, since if the card really is going to be used or played, it'll probably see a reprint closer to the release of that legendary duelist set. Alright, and one final card we're going to talk about for today here is Destiny Hero Dasher. I think that when we looked at this card a little while ago, it was under the $10 mark. Now, however, that we've got a chance to see just how strong Destroy Phoenix Enforcer can be here in the TCG, Dasher is basically $20 to $25 for either the common or rare version of the card in near mint condition on TCG Player. Even with Dragoon still in the game here and having to run multiple bricks in your deck, the DPE package can be very difficult to deal with, as even Celestial's ability to draw 2 cards in the following turn can be absolutely game-breaking. Now, that being said, I'm going to argue that all of your additional copies of Dasher, aside from the one that you're using in your deck, should all be sold as soon as possible, because I am like 95% sure that Dasher will be reprinted in OTS Tournament Pack 18 as either a common or a super rare, given that they've chosen to reprint Fusion Destiny as an ultimate rare. Konami obviously knows that they've released one heck of a monster, and they're expecting it to be meta relevant for quite some time, otherwise they wouldn't reprint Fusion Destiny in a high rarity, so it does make sense if they reprint Dasher to provide players with that extra little bit of incentive to open those packs. I know most of you have probably dug this card out of your bulk and moved all of them already, but if you're sitting on some extra copies for now in your binder or anything like that, maybe try taking a little bit less money to get them out of your hands before the card inevitably gets reprinted. Okay guys, that is all that we have for today's episode. One extra reminder here to make sure that you guys head over to MSTmerch.com to check out the sale, especially if you guys want to get your hands on some really cool product and support us in the process. I know me and Tombox both really do appreciate it. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch episode, please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button for me to let me know. Also make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards that we talked about today, as well as what other cards are trending on the market, so I can potentially cover them in a future episode as well. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself here on the channel. And until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.